So obviously, if you look at my channel, you can tell I do mostly Need for Speed content, and this might be a little bit too far of a departure from that to get my regular audience's attention, but I'm telling you, you should care about this game. There is so much to talk about, so let's go. Alright, let's start off with a list of the things to do in this game. These are the game modes that you're going to be experiencing with this game. The first is Season Pass tiers. There are 50 of these. This is like a battle pass in any other game. You then have the Season Tour, which is actually themed rewards based on a particular movie. In this particular season, it's Monsters Inc. Then you have the Starter Circuit. This is just for leveling up the base of your characters. You have limited events, which are daily, weekly, and monthly events. And this includes competitions for fastest times with better rewards for where you're finishing in the leaderboards, and that goes against other players. You have ranked multiplayer, which is exactly what it sounds like. You have regulated multiplayer, which is everyone is on the same level and competing against each other. You have local free play and private tracks. So the difference being that local free play is just for having fun by yourself, or if you would like to split screen with someone in your house. There's no progression there, and private tracks are exactly what that sounds like. They're private matches that you can set up with your friends. You can select the track, the laps, the level cap, etc. And then you can share your race code with people so they can specifically join your race. So with that being said, let's get into the different categories that I'm judging this game on. The first being the graphics or the art style. Now, when I hear Disney in the title, I immediately think cute characters, Mickey Mouse, little kid type stuff like rainbows and learning to share. This game's art style doesn't at all line up with that. Of course, the characters are there, but there's something gritty about the way the cars and tracks look. I actually love it. I really haven't been able to say that about anything Disney over the past few years, well, at least until I had my kid. The direction they went in with the art style is actually very, very nice. It just feels like a modern take on Disney. It feels like a modern take on kart racing. It just looks insane, and the fact that they're offering this game on multiple platforms, basically everywhere, including the older platforms like PS4 and Xbox One, this is actually quite the feat. Let's move into the racing and handling model. It definitely isn't a huge departure from any other kart racer. You can jump, dash left and right, and of course you can drift corners. Most of your speed is centered around boost, so like other games, you need to maximize the amount of boost that you earn. You can do that by drifting corners, drafting behind other racers, grabbing power-ups if your character has a boost skill, and there's a lot of aerial control as well, which is nice, especially when you get bumped just before a jump or hit with an opposing racer's skill mid-air. But the most efficient way to drive is to chain your boosts. When you are boosted, you can drift without losing speed, and when you drift, you can gain boost. So the goal is to boost into drifts and then use drifts to extend that boost. And then for the times in between that, hopefully you've picked up a power-up that has granted you your boost skill and you can continue the process. Obviously, it's a little bit easier said than done, but when you do get a nice chain going, you will start to gap the field. Overall, the racing mechanics are actually super fun and quite satisfying once you get the hang of them. Moving on to the skills. As I just mentioned, each character has a set of 4 common skills and 1 unique skill. Although there are 4 character types, Speedster, Defender, Brawler, and Trickster, the skills each possess seem to be pretty similar. The advantage comes as you level your character up. Each new star level will increase the duration or effectiveness of your character type skills. So for example, a Brawler like Donald Duck, as you increase his star level, you'll notice his attacking type skills, Fire and Bomb, also receive increases. For a Speedster like Mickey, the speed skills increase in effectiveness as you level him up. There are only 8 common skills in total for the racers and a teleport skill that will randomly be granted during the races, but it's not attached to any one racer. In general, I think the common skills are different enough to keep things interesting, but I'd like to see more as the game receives updates. The unique skills are absolutely great. All in all, the skills add a layer of strategy to the racing, which I absolutely love. Moving on to the track variety and design. Now, there are 9 track arenas. In those arenas, there are anywhere from 4 to 8 different track layouts. Some with the same layout, but the direction is reversed. and some with completely different layouts with different shortcuts and optional paths. All in all, there are 47 tracks in 9 different environments, and to be honest, they all flow really, really well. They all look amazing, but I do have a couple of favorites. The Pirate's Life is just an awesome arena to be in. You've got lots of choices for paths, which really gives the advantage to players who've taken the time to learn the track, and it's got tons of visual movement like the cannon battle and the Kraken trying to slow you down. My other favorite is the Factory. It's designed after the Monsters Inc. door factory, and it's just fun to be in that environment with doors everywhere. Also, Monsters Inc. is one of my favorite Disney movies, so I might be a little biased towards anything Monsters Inc. That being said though, all of the arenas are absolutely stunning and the tracks are full of path choices and flowy twists and turns, and they really do complement the driving mechanics and the handling model. I can't say enough good things about this track design. Next up is the progression system. Now, progression is what this game is all about. Sure, kart racing is the centerpiece, but the progression mechanics are actually insane. You have individual character progression for 18 Disney characters, and you have 69 different crew members across the 8 different movies that are currently featured in the game, and that's just the individual progression. Then each of your 18 characters has a multiplayer rank and a regulated multiplayer award system. There's a battle pass feature that is called the Golden Pass, which has its own challenges, but you earn XP for that pass by literally racing in any of the modes. And then there's the season tour, which has a central theme surrounding one of the movies, and right now it's Monsters Inc. This tour has 8 chapters of rewards for you, with the majority of the rewards pertaining to the Monsters Inc. characters. It gives you upgrade parts and currency for the season store, etc. To be honest, the game is a bit overwhelming at first. The UI is filled with so many different events and places to race, it does feel a little confusing on where and what I'm supposed to be doing or how to maximize my time. That being said, the progression systems are tailored perfectly. Every race you finish, you feel like you've won something in a slot machine and it keeps you playing. There's always a goal that seems to be getting closer with every single race that you complete, and then when you achieve that goal, a new goal is right there in front of your face. It's pretty wild, honestly. It's very well designed and it does a great job, like I said, at hooking you in. Moving on to the multiplayer experience. Now, there are 4 different ways to compete with other players in Disney Speedstorm. The obvious, ranked and regulated, but then you have the ability to create your own private races with your friends, and there are certain limited events that you race alone, but your time is compared to the rest of the players who participate, and your rewards are based on how well you fared against them. Let's talk about the difference between ranked and regulated. Ranked does not have a level-based matchmaking. If you attempt to race there with a level 1 character, you will likely get smoked because there's gonna be players with much higher level characters and thus much faster cars and upgraded skills. Regulated multiplayer is just that. Everyone is on the same level, so it's a fairly even playing field. I appreciate that they included both modes to sort of cater to both types of competitive people. Some people only want to play against others, and they can do that at the very early stages of the game with the regulated multiplayer. And people who have taken the time to grind a character and level them up to the max want to be able to exercise that power in a mode that gives them an advantage. The multiplayer gameplay is pretty aggressive with all of the skills, but it's actually really fun. The only quarrel I have with it is in ranked play. You're rewarded according to your performance. However, the game doesn't give you a clear breakdown of what you need to do in each race to guarantee your level to increase. It seems like some races you can come in 3rd place out of 8 racers and still lose rank points, but then in other races you come in 5th and gain rank points. It's obviously more detailed than just your finishing position, but my point is that the game really doesn't tell you what determines your reward or your penalty. I would really like to see that added in future updates. Other than that, the multiplayer experience is an absolute blast. Next up is the soundtrack. Now, this is not a normal category that I talk about when I review games, but this one is super cool. I just have to give the game a nice compliment. There are a bunch of songs that are essentially remixes of Disney songs. For example, there's a Bare Necessities remix that just goes super hard. It's probably my favorite song in the game, and it only plays when you're in the jungle arena, which is obviously the Jungle Book map. There are quite a few others as well, and I just love the originality of this concept, and I think you will too. All right, let's talk about the content and the future of the game for a minute. The seasonal content seems to reset every month, and that's the seasonal tour and the golden pass. The regulated multiplayer resets every week, and the limited time events reset on various timetables, anywhere from a few hours to a few days to an entire month. This type of content blast on a monthly basis really makes the game feel super fresh every time you turn it on. And it seems like we will be getting regular updates to the game. Now, right now, it's technically in early access, but the plan is to sell the seasonal golden pass every month, just like any other free-to-play game with a battle pass. So with that said, you can expect regular, fresh content from this game, and that's absolutely amazing. Now, this next section is not really a review of something in the game, but I want to talk about what's possible with a game like this. So with a giant library of movies to pull from, the developers have an almost limitless supply of new characters, new track designs, and new progression to introduce if they want to, and they make enough money to afford the licensing from Disney. Now, I'm sure it's not cheap. That being said, I think the possibilities are basically endless, so long as the studio wants to support it and it makes sense business-wise to do so. My overall experience with this game is super positive, as you can probably tell by this review. I ran into very few bugs, which is great considering this is an early access game, and it surprised me in a good way on multiple occasions. Now, obviously, this is not an open world racer that has realistic car models like Need for Speed, but all of the things that Need for Speed games have been doing bad over the last decade, this game does really, really well. Especially the multiplayer, competitive multiplayer, content, and support departments. In addition to that, the Need for Speed franchise keeps asking us to pay $60 for a new game every 3 years, and this game is actually free to play, or it will be free to play once it's fully released. I believe most of you watching this will get some enjoyment out of playing this game. I highly recommend it, especially once it's released and free to play. Thank you so much for watching. I know this was a little bit longer of a video, but I appreciate you being here. Shout out to all the Heat 5 members of the channel. I'll catch you on the next one. Trigger out.